Adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome to the June 10th emergency meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We call the meeting to order. New business, consideration of corrected Article 3.
Okay, I move to amend Article 3 referendum question A to change the interest rate on unpaid balances and for abated taxes to 8% for the fiscal year.
I second that.
Discussion?
Second.
All those in favor? Seeing all in favor, motion is carried unanimously.
Okay, I move to accept the warrant as recorded, as reworded, not recorded, reworded.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Seeing all unanimous.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Can I say something?
No.
This is to correct an error of the state treasurer's office, and we will be seeking remuneration from the state.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Welcome to the July 8th Board of Selectmen meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is move the minutes from the May 20th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Seeing all the hands up, motion is carried. Next motion is to move the minutes from the June 10th, 2020 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Seeing all hands raised, motion is carried. Next item of business is appointment of new code enforcement officer. Don, you want to run with that?
Yes, very pleased to recommend Alex Sorois, most recently of Casco. He's also served in the town of Poland, I think about 4 years in Casco, 3.5 years roughly in Poland, where he was the assistant. And so he comes very highly recommended by local people who we have a lot of faith in. So we're very excited for him to be starting. He'll start at a probationary salary and then go later on to an increased salary that will be contingent upon him getting some certifications that he presently does not hold. This is consistent with prior code officers. Both Scott and Chris came to us in a similar situation. I think as far as experience level, although it's mostly rural, like Raymond, he is probably at a more experienced position than either of those two when they came in terms of years of service. So I'm really pleased and happy that he's decided to accept the job. He'll be starting on Tuesday, July 21st. And so I don't know if he has anything he wants to say, but we're really looking forward to him coming. And Kayla's not here, but Kayla's been very busy, working to return calls. I've even been processing to some degree or administratively processing permits. So from the start. So I'm very pleased.
I saw Mary today and she was pretty busy too. So yeah.
Yeah. Mary is back. And so she's very busy. And so I think we're ready to go. And, I should say that I haven't called the town of Casco yet, but I'm going to extend the same offer that was given to us by the town of Gray, and that is to assist them to the degree possible And the other thing I should tell you is that Alex has also agreed to come in and help us before his notice in Casco runs, which I think he gave Monday. So he's given them his notice, but he's going to try to help us in all the free time he has probably between now and then come full time for us. And I will, as I said, offer to help Casco on a divided time basis, with each town compensating for their time. So we'll work all that out.
Sounds good.
So what are the certifications that you need for here in Raymond?
So basically, it comes down to Casco, because of the size of the town population-wise, we don't need to be a MUBEC town, so we don't have a building code. We don't have the IRC, IBC code set. And when I was in Poland before, that wasn't an area that I was doing inspections for. It wasn't a duty that I had been given, so it wasn't necessary there either. So I never got those certifications when I started the CEO process. It will be required in Casco probably next year. So it's something I was actually working on obtaining, and it shouldn't be an issue to get that in the next month or two. Actually, I'm hoping. I got to work with the state to make sure I can take the test that quick, because they typically do a couple of test dates per year. And I don't know how it's all working with COVID, so I'll have to work that out with them. But I've heard they're pretty flexible with it.
Is that something, as far as the test dates go, can we be lenient because of the COVID issues?
Well, the statute actually allows for a year. So once I'm appointed, I have a year to get certified. So I think it should be no problem to definitely do it within a year. My goal would be to have that done ASAP.
We also have the electrical certification.
That I need to work with you on a little bit, because I've done some digging and I wasn't able to find anywhere where the actual adopted code is in Raymond. And I did actually speak with Chris last week, and he was under the impression that you guys did adopt an electrical code, but wasn't exactly sure off the top of his head. So we'll have to look at that. If we haven't adopted an electrical code, then we'll just need to work around that. And if we have, then we'll figure out a solution.
Sue, can you amplify anything related to that, the code adoption?
I vaguely remember that a line or two was added to the land use ordinance that had referenced state electrical code, I believe, or something to that effect. So I can go back and look at the town meeting minutes and see what I can find for you.
Thank you. So we'll review where you are and what you need. And we are going to be, to answer Teresa's question, we will be, lenient, and obviously there are prescribed timelines in law that we'll be needing to follow. But we've been through this with both Scott and Chris in the past, so we would definitely work with Alex on this.
No, it sounds like you're willing to work with it and
Yes.
where you need to be.
Yes.
I mean, as strange as it sounds, you may find the electrical thing someplace in some of the fire stuff, because it seems to me there was discussions back when there was some ordinance work being done on some of those things, on suppression and this and that and the other thing, that electrical came into play too. So it could be not where you would normally think to look.
I can't cite where it is, but I can tell you that both Chris and Scott have, indicated to me that it's something that you needed. So we'll research it though.
We now charge a fee for electrical inspection, do we not?
We do. I know we did add that in. That
Okay.
did change. So I remember questioning that, because I didn't want
Remember
to
the
make
discussion on that. So,
Raymond builder friendly, I think is what it is.
okay.
So we need a motion.
We need
Yes, a motion for confirmation.
All right, I make a motion to appoint Alex. Is it Sorois or Soroy?
So I say Seroy's, but I accept any
Seroy's?
pronunciation.
What? It's your last name.
I say it
Seroy.
the wrong way, at least that's what I've been told. And the I guess the easiest way I can describe to people is pronounced the same way as you would say turquoise.
Turquoise, C. Royce. Okay, I'm good with that. All right, I make a motion to appoint Alexander C. Royce as the new code enforcement officer.
Moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Seeing all positive votes, motion is carried.
Welcome aboard and thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And thank you for the correction on the name. I did my due diligence, and what I got back was Sir Royce from Rita, but C. Royce it'll be.
And the appointment papers will be out by the back door tomorrow for signature.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, next item is quitclaim deeds. Who's
All right,
handling those?
do you want me to read
Teresa.
it? Ready?
You-
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to accept the quitclaim deed for Tim W. Hall, book 34141, page 15, book 35065, page 28, book 359, 199.
Moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Seeing positive votes on everyone, the motion is carried.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the short form quitclaim deed on an estate of Irwin C. Booley. Book 35065, page 6, book 35913, page 20.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None. All positive votes. Motion is carried.
Ah, here comes the thunder.
Were there any calls in for public comment? Sue?
No, there weren't.
Selectmen comments? Okay. Town manager report.
We are off to a very busy summer, and so I should tell you that. And with the grant, we've been very actively trying to get everything that we committed to the state done. And so you may notice some so-called luxury porta potties. Those have turned out to be quite a unit to manage. We're going to be improving in that regard. I want to give a thank you to Nathan for taking care of them in the early days of their landing. But we're coming up with a long-term plan, hopefully in consultation and conjunction with the town of Naples, which they are in a similar position. If not, we're going to look at a contract op or possibly within the rec department. But so that kind of got jumped on us. But if you've seen them around town, they're there to promote health and sanitation, and they're rather nice. And so we're getting some positive comment on that. I think we're going to take the one from the ballpark though down to the Tasseltop. The ballpark unit is not getting used very much, and Tasseltop can use additional units, and they're easier for us to maintain in Tasseltop. We got a whole range of signage coming, and I'll be sending that out in a day or so. And we're going to offer that up to the Lake Region area, to the town of Wyndham. They have a grant that encompasses 8 towns, and we're part of that grant process. Bill Blood, who's with us, will be doing some videos. We're going to get in touch with him. And so we have there's just a whole bunch of different things we're doing. We're doing outreach to businesses, to camps. We're trying to do everything we can possibly do to mitigate the COVID-19 pandemic and to continue the public education process. And I'm really impressed with everything Kathy Goslin has done and the signage.
Yeah.
So I want to call out to Kathy and Bruce and Nathan and Joe, and it's been a team effort, and Kayla, Kathy Ricker. So, so look, everybody's been involved making this happen. I'm sure I'm leaving people out, but that's the big thing we're pushing right now, is getting that grant implemented. And as far as the town office is going, I also want to call out the town office staff. I think things have gone rather smoothly, and people are, I think the public's been generally good, and the staff has been, very, I think, attentive to people's needs. I've gotten 0 complaints, which is really good, from either side. So I think the citizens are happy and the staff seems reasonably happy. And under the circumstances, it's tough. It's a tough situation. So, we're just trying to do the best we can, go about our business. And I think the great news for the town is, though, that our revenues are on target. And our Tasseltop receipts, as we had learned this morning in our department head meeting. Joe is now projecting that we may meet the original revenue projections, which is quite something given, the pandemic and the slow start and every other thing that's happened. So that's all good news. So I think in terms of the town's operations, I'm happy to report we're in good shape.
Good.
As far as other things, let's see. Confirming the date for the next upcoming meeting, that's to be determined as needed, as we have been running for the last few months. The reminder of upcoming election schedule, Tuesday, July 14th. Polls open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the gym. There will be social distancing, CDC compliant practices and protocols in place. If Sue wants to comment, I guess you could comment on that, or you could take it on faith that they will be what they need to be. And
Well, I think,
not going to see a big
Don,
crowd.
I think it would be appropriate for Sue to do that only because it's another opportunity to have this broadcast, what the protocols are going to be, so people may have some idea what's going to happen when they come in there. So Sue, if you want to just go through what's going to happen from the time you hit the parking lot to the time you leave the parking lot.
I had just one other thing, and that is that I'm hopeful, though, that we've had a ton of absentees, that's going to mitigate the turnout. And I'm done.
When they first get to the parking lot, they'll go over to the door the same way they have, the door that goes into the top there, then goes down the ramp. But as soon as they go through those doors, it's going to look different because I'm going to have the letter designations and right there, so that if they're in A to K, they'll be in one line, L to Z, they'll be in the other. They're going to be X's on the floor or lines on the floor with caution tape that will be staggered so that the lines won't be side by side going down the ramp. When they get in, there'll be a 2x3 sneeze guard in front of each of the election workers at the lists, and there'll also be one at the registrar's table. And the workers will have masks, gloves, and face shields, so to keep themselves and to keep others safe. The state has provided pens, so that when we give someone a pen, they're welcome to take it with them, or I'll have a bucket at the end they can dump them in, and we'll sanitize them and use them at the town office eventually, or probably actually use them for November. We're only using half of the voting booths to be able to keep people distant. So instead of having 4 people grouped around, there will be one on one side, the 2 on the edges or on the sides will be blocked off, and the one opposite the one being used will also be used. So the 2 people would be facing each other, but when seated, they'll be 6 feet apart. We have a sizable number of ballots this time, and I've been paying attention as people have been voting them at the town office. And on average, it's around 10 minutes to vote all of the ballots. If you're in a party, you're going to get 6 ballots, and 2 of those are double-sided with 34 warrant articles for town meeting.
Wow.
So it's going to take a while. We're going to have all the booths sit down. There won't be any stand up just because it's taking so long. Another big change is there'll be like a mouse maze for people to go through, or a queue to get to the ballot boxes. Those are going to be located near the door in the far corner. So this election, people won't be able to go in and out the same door. They'll only come down the ramp to come in, and they'll have to go out that back door to leave. And the only exception to that would be anyone that had any difficulties with walking, or in a wheelchair, or some other device. We would make arrangements so that they could go back up the ramp, but we'd have to move people to get them to do that. So it is going to be
Post the picture.
different, but I don't think significantly different. Really, from the voters' point of view, it will look different, but they'll still get their ballots, they'll still get pens, they'll still go to a booth, they'll still put their ballots themselves into the voting booths. It will take a little longer, though, between the number of ballots, and we can't, the state calls it piggyback on the state election, because one of the races for state senate is a ranked choice voting race. So we will have one machine that the town and school ballots go in, and another machine that the state ballots go in.
Why,
And with the rules from the state,
why does it say post?
and with the rules from the state, the ballots are no one can come and put ballots in a machine that's not being used until the voter that's there finishes putting all of their ballots in. So someone will have to put in all of their town, all of the state, and then leave, and then the next person can come. So people will need to know that if they are going to vote in person, it may take longer and they'll need to have some patience.
Anything else, Don?
No, I think I'm set. I guess if I had to conclude, I would say thanks so much to the staff, the selectmen for their support, and for our citizens for being so understanding. As I said, things have gone very well, better than I had expected.
One other thing I would add is that the town books were delivered today. You each have one in your box at the town office, but citizens are welcome to come in and get one. If you want to see the pictures pretty, though, they are all in color online, right on the front page of the home page of the town website at raymondmaine.org.
That concludes all the agenda items. So if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Welcome to your craziness, Alex.
Third, RSU 14 withdrawal committee meeting. Call the meeting to order. First order of business is to accept the minutes from the December 9th meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Teresa, seconded by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Teresa, yes. Rolf, yes. Motion is carried. New business. Before we get into new business, I just wanted to make a couple of comments to correct some things and make sure that everybody's kind of working from the same ballpark. First thing I want to do is say that through this whole issue of getting the withdrawal agreement squared around, Chris Howell has been a big help and has really helped whenever he can as far as facilitating things and being able to get people to work with us and things like that. So that really helped things go a lot smoother than they may have been. But in the RSU meeting the other night, there was some discussion on how, not sure exactly how it was said, but essentially that we dragged things out because of Corona or whatever, starting this year, so that's what's caused us to get a little bit behind on where we are. I just wanted to kind of read some timeline here on when things happened, starting from January 20th, when we submitted, the RSU withdrawal committee submitted our proposal to the RSU 14. This was kind of the last iteration. On February 11th, there was a meeting between the Raymond Withdrawal Committee and representatives from the RSU 14 to discuss the withdrawal agreement. On March 18th, we received a new counterproposal from the RSU 14 indicating that it was subject to change after further consideration as well as review by the RSU 14 committee. On April 29th, we still had not heard back, so Dan got a hold of them and they asked for clarification request from the RSU 14 regarding status and further changes to the counter proposal. Response from the RSU 14 was that the RSU 14 committee had not recommended any further changes. Then on June 5th, that proposal was shared with the RSU 14, the full board, or it was made available to the full board. We don't know how and who they distributed it to. On June 23rd, we received notice from the RSU that the RSU board would vote on the withdrawal agreement in July. On June 30th, a draft of the withdrawal agreement was shared with the DOE. On July 1st, we received initial feedback on the withdrawal agreement received from the DOE. On July 15th, the RSU board met and approved the withdrawal agreement. And that gets us to tonight, where we are looking at the agreement and giving our agreement on there. So some statements were made that, they only saw it that night and they thought it was a little unfair for them to have to review it and do it in one night. But in truth, they had it from April 29th. So where that statement was coming from, I do not know, unless their committee did not share it with their full board, but we have no control over that. So those are the facts, and we're now at the point to be able to go forward with this. So first order of business, one of the big things that had been being worked on was Marshall and the people that he was working with on getting a draft budget pulled together. So we'll have Marshall kind of go through what he did there, who he worked with, and what his numbers show.
Okay, can everybody hear me, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I hope that all of you have received the budget packages I sent out a couple days ago, and it's in the agenda package for tonight. I want to take a few minutes and go through that, but first I just want to say that this is meant to be a high-level executive summary. The documents that I used totaled out to be in excess of 110 pages. It would be very difficult to go through 110 pages of Excel in a meeting like this. So this is what I call as an executive summary. I have reduced the budget into several major points, which I want to discuss quickly now, and hopefully you all have a copy. The biggest impact to Raymond's budget going forward would be the cost for secondary education. It would be reduced from what I estimated to be around $17,000 per student to the tuition rate of $11,500, which is an estimate of this year's $10,007 plus 4% for next year, plus 4% going into 21-22. There's a differential for the students that are not at Wyndham. We have 8 this year. We normally send 25,000 to the RSU, and they normally send us back 15. So I've included 10,000 for that figure also. Next year's student count show that we will continue to have 8 students out of the RSU in secondary. That obviously can change. And we'll get into the details on that on page 2, but I'd like to get through page 1 first, if I might. I've added $140,000 to the numbers for a school resource officer. I realize there is national political issues both for and against these. I would feel comfortable, and I think some of the administration at the RSU, at Raymond, would feel comfortable with a resource officer. So it is added in the budget. Whether they take it or not is another issue. The other thing I've added in is $180,000 for nutrition. This is to provide free breakfast and lunch for all K-4 students. I think this is important for a lot of reasons. I learned early on in my teaching career that hungry kids can't learn. So the more we can feed their nutrition needs, the more we can feed their educational needs. The reason I got 180,000 is I took 240 students, multiplied it by $4.50 per student for 177 days, and then rounded down a little bit for absences and things like I don't like spaghetti and stuff like that. So that's where the 180,000 comes from. That is a gross number. It will not include free and reduced that we could use to buck up against this at some later point. Point number 3, the budgets as submitted by Raymond administration maintain full effect. All services and programs currently in existence carry forward. They have been adjusted upward to account for the change in time, 3.5% per year. So all RES and Jordan Small School budgets as submitted by Raymond administration have not been touched. Subtractions have been made from the RSU 14 version 9 maintenance and facilities accounts to eliminate those non-recurring costs that I determined with their help to be expended this year, mostly in the area of security. I understand that they are considering putting in airlocks at RES and Jordan Small. I don't think they've started the work yet, but it is scheduled to be done this year. Additions to staff have been partially carried to the pre-withdrawal expenses, which we'll review later, and increased in the budget to reflect those positions that you may be hired after 7/1/21. The board, I assumed the school board would have 5 seats. I built in stipends and insurances based on the 5 seats. Pre-K assumes 20 students, 5 of which would be identified, and 3 staff. Now this is a little bit different. I budgeted for 20 students and 3 staff. I do not assume, nor would I recommend, that the school does 20 full-time pre-K 5 days a week. I think that would be way excessive for both the students and the staff. I'm recommending that they do 10 a.m. and 10 p.m., which gives their staff ratio of roughly 3 to 1, and it's easier on the students. They can do what they wish. I'm not responsible for that, but that's the thought plan behind the 20 and the 5 and the 3. And finally, there will be no longer any shared employees. That was made clear to me early on. Additions to the staff budgets have been made to accommodate those shared employees, which I believe there are 2, possibly 3, that may wish to remain in Raymond. If not, the budget is there to support a new employee. But I think those people should be given opportunities first. So that is the major points in building this budget. Most of it has come from RSU 14 version 9 with some adjustments that I've made. I have been in touch with Raymond administration, and they in essence agree with these thoughts. Any questions on this page? Because some of this won't be covered later. Any questions here?
Marshall, what about, and I'm looking on your, what you have here for major budget points, but I'm also holding up your projected expenditures. What about the superintendent, a special ed director? Do you have that listed out in the projected expenditures, or do you have it back on?
Let's talk about a superintendent, but I really don't want to go any further with personnel issues, okay? The superintendent, we would assume that the superintendent would be hired January 1, 2021.
Where is it at, though, as far as cost goes?
Part of it is in the budget, and part of it is in the anticipated pre-withdrawal.
Okay.
Okay.
Another question, too, is I know pre-K, I'm looking at these numbers that you are coming in under the major budget points as high. Only because I'd rather go high, because I know pre-K, they're getting state funded money, some now. Lunch money, same type of thing, might you know what I mean, as far as like, free and reduced. And that 140,000 for the school resource officer, 1 or 2?
Direct quote from Kevin Joyce, 1. We buy a car.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That reduces down to 90 to 95,000 on year 2, because we've already bought the car.
Okay,
And I don't know whether I've ever mentioned this before. I have a friend in another school system that is a superintendent there, and he has confirmed that the price is somewhere around 90 to 95,000 per year, year 2 and forward.
okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay. Anybody else on this document?
Marshall, I don't know when the appropriate time is, but when I listened to the school board the other night,
I'm sorry to hear that.
most of the phone-in people were teachers and concerned about the contract. What assumptions are you making for the contract?
I assumed that the Raymond administration in their budget carried correctly the salaries and benefits as awarded by the union contracts forward, and I have not touched that. They remain in full effect.
That is part of the separation agreement, is that those contracts remain.
Yes, it is.
Remain intact until they expire.
They said they do expire. One of the persons, I can't remember, Penny, somebody said that the one does expire and they will not have a negotiating bargaining power with them once we split.
I would have no control on that. I carried forward a number there. That would be a decision for the new superintendent, whatever they wish to negotiate there. I really can't see anything changing. But
Why
again,
wouldn't they
I
have
carried forward their
power?
numbers on that.
What,
Why,
Joe?
why wouldn't they have negotiating power? They're still a union.
No, they said that and this is some of the things that was frustrating because Attorney Stockmeyer was not giving them accurate information. They said once that we split, they are no longer in part of that bargaining unit anymore. And that their contract, I believe, said is up. It will be up then. So they would have to be negotiating without a bargaining unit on their own. So,
Yeah, but the bargaining unit is the union that they're associated with. I can't believe that the union they're associated with is going to say, "Gee, we don't want you."
that's
So,
what they did say
they're
in that meeting.
They're part of either MBA or whatever bargaining unit they're with. I mean, the statement could be partially correct in that, yes, if the union negotiator is in Wyndham, they're not going to negotiate for Raymond. Raymond would have to have its own negotiating team. But it doesn't mean that the union dissolves
Well, no, but that's what
unless they
Chris,
vote.
and that's why I wanted
Unless
you,
they vote to dissolve it.
but that's why I wanted you to hear it. They're saying as of that July 1st, you're no longer part of that bargaining unit anymore, and that they're going to have to go in on their own and do it. And again, that's why I wanted you guys to listen to that, because there were so many things that should have been answered.
So just to,
Go
yeah,
ahead,
just to
Dan.
clarify, under the withdrawal agreement, it states that the expiration date of the current teacher's contract is August 21st of 2021. And if withdrawal were to be approved in November, they would not have the authority to bargain for Raymond employees after the effect, for any collective bargaining agreement that takes effect after the effective date of withdrawal, which would be July 1st of 2021. So during that time period between the vote and the expiration of the collective bargaining agreement in August of 2021, the new Raymond School Committee, if withdrawal were to be approved in November, would be responsible for negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement that would apply effective as of August 22nd of 2021. So there would continue to be a collective bargaining relationship. Raymond would be required to negotiate with the union over a new collective bargaining agreement for Raymond school employees.
And until a new bargaining agreement was settled on by Raymond and the MTA, the old bargaining agreement would stay in effect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There would be full recognition. The terms and conditions of employment would remain in effect until there's a new collective bargaining agreement.
So there was some misinformation out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I like our council, I like our advisor, I like this on our side a lot better.
Yeah.
Yes, they were not, the school board is not getting accurate information. They really aren't.
Well, you know, it's reminiscent of things that you know, I've talked about in the past as far as helplines and things like that. They answer the question specifically that is asked, but they go no further.
Right.
So the question that was asked was, would they be able to negotiate for them? The answer is no, they would not. But they didn't answer it further, which is, but the agreement stay, you know, the terms stay in effect until the new agreement is reached. So technically, yes, the answer was correct.
Oh, but they didn't say that it stayed in effect until a new one was
But
made.
the spirit of the question is not what was answered.
Right, right. Look at Joe.
Just shaking my head.
Okay, Marshall, continue.
Okay, hold on for a second, please. Bill, can you bring up page 2 on the PDF? I'm going to try to have the tech guys bring up page 2, which is the analysis of secondary. But I think you all have that anyway. Hopefully you do. Joe, can you nod your head yes?
I have it somewhere on my computer.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Which one is it? I got 4 of them here.
Well, just let me skim it through. We had the student count for secondary for a couple years, and we have 190 students that just for the past year, 1920. Okay, we have 186 going into 2021 seniors, 2021 senior high school 20 and 21. And that drops to 182. Currently, we have 8 out of district. That will drop to 2 in that period. I don't know why. Maybe a family graduated or something. So, but anyway, it drops down to 2. So that's the reason for the decrease in the number of students. The state tuition rate, which is what I believe the agreement calls for, is $10,007 plus 4% per year, brings us up to roughly $11,598 per high school student. Take that, do the math, you come up with $2.1 million roughly. Now I've also added in 18% of the identified population, and according to Chris Howell, it's an additional $10,000 per student to carry that special ed category. So I've added that in, so when you add those numbers up, you come up with 2.438 million, which I think is a little bit different than Mark's numbers, which we'll get to in Exhibit F. It's rounding, and I just lost everything. Can you hear me, Rolf? Okay, there we go. If we did not withdraw, I estimate the secondary costs to be in the area of $3.2 million for this period. So the savings roughly $800,000.
What is the total student count, Marshall?
This year it was 601.
Okay.
I
That
had-
includes
I have
kindergarten through high school?
K through 12, yes. I understand that there are 50 coming in and 46 or something going out. How many did we graduate this year? 46? I think it's 46. So that'll go up a little bit. And then there was a dip in one of the years, I forget which one it is. So it went down, and then it'll go down because we'll graduate 6 of the out of district. I think they were North Yarmouth. So we'll be winding up total students in 2021 to 22, 593.
And isn't there a lot of new housing being built right now in Raymond? I drive around, I see all this new construction.
Yeah.
Is there any anticipation that you add any numbers anticipating families moving?
The average class size has been running about 45.
Okay.
I increased K this year to 50 for that reason. And I
Okay.
think we'll see small gains as years go by. But the numbers taking this down to 182 from 186 involves just secondary.
Okay.
We average,
dropped over the last 20 years.
I'm sorry?
I mean, our total student population is actually dropping.
Yes, it is. It is. And there are little blips up and down, but in average, it's 45 per class per year. So any questions on the secondary analysis?
Yeah, what is the students at tuition rate again? You have 24, 22, 182.
We would have 182 at the full tuition rate.
Wait. Oh, sorry. I got it.
Because there would be no more, seniors at
Yeah.
Wyndham High. We'll all be state tuition.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. May I move on?
Yes.
The next document is a document that Mark has helped me produce. This will be going into the package as Exhibit F. If we can take a look at that, this is aligned to the state document requirements, and maybe Mark can take over here for a second and explain that.
I'd be happy to. Marshall did a really nice job, and we'll see his detail, which gives you a little bit more information on the individual issues that you'd be interested in. But what the state requires is to use the cost center format, and that's what's listed here: regular instruction, special ed, career and technical, etc., and requires the exhibit follow that state template in order to become part of our document. So what I did, to the best of my knowledge, and I didn't have all 120 sheets that Marshall had and the detail that he had, I tried to transition all his numbers into the appropriate function so the state would be satisfied. And my earlier version had pre-withdrawal costs, which I was, when I talked with Rolf said, no, that would not be something that most of those costs would come out of surplus in the year before the actual withdrawal date. So we aligned as best we could with Marshall's costs as well as with expenditures as well as revenues, and came out essentially the same.
Thank you, Mark. If you take a look at the next page down, which is my budget summary, I've gone into just a hair more detail. I think this aligns better with what our accounting system will look like if we separate. And each one, I've given a justification. For example, $132,000 for pre-K. The Raymond Elementary and Jordan Small remain intact with a 3.5% increase per year. secondary tuition, so forth and so on. The reason that I believe that Mark's numbers and my numbers are different is that we have handled technology different. He's put it back into where it would go into a building, and CIA would be different. There's a lot of things in CIA, including gifted and talented and a couple other things. So I broke that out. The RSU 14 version 9 budget does break out CIA. So in essence, we plan on spending $10.8 million in the year 21-22 for Raymond. When I first did a progression of their increases over the last 10 years, they averaged roughly 4%, 4.5%. That would take us to $11.6 million if we do not withdraw. So there's a savings of about $800,000 by withdrawing. Any questions on that document?
People are going to say we're doing this for only 800,000, but it's not just 800,000.
No, it's not.
It's literally everything that you just put into this.
Right.
That not in there now.
Right.
That's bonuses. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
It's also getting local control back.
That's the big one. That's the big one.
Yeah.
We get our own board. We get to say how that school's run.
And, and Raymond will continue to face 4 to 5% increases every year because our property values are going up, our Wyndham's are going down.
Right.
We're catching up to Wyndham in valuation, and we're a lot smaller town.
Okay.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine that is watching the migration of new housing from Westbrook to Wyndham, and there's a tremendous impact in school attendance in Westbrook, which shows a higher need. There are a lot of immigrants coming in, I understand, and that's moving towards Wyndham. So I think in a few years, their school population might be quite a bit higher than it is now. And I think that's one of the reasons they're looking at building that middle school over there.
That is, I know people the other night had questions and comments regarding, Title I, and I think we have to see what students we have here.
Right.
But I wish people would look at now what we are offering and what we were bringing into it. And another really strong possibility is that new middle school in Wyndham is to me is a threat, just because who's to say in order for them to save money, they closed down Jordan Small. They've tried it before. It's been mentioned after that, a couple years after that. And then the kids would have to go down, and then we do have to pay for that school because kids are going to be forced to attend that new middle school. So that is a threat.
To me, that makes logical sense from the state standpoint. They're not going to be paying for a school that's half empty when they're building a new one.
And then they're going to start looking at it as a board to say, hey, we got to cut costs somewhere.
Right.
We got to have schools up here. Let's close this. Let's bring them down. I know that they factor in Raymond kids into that school, but they're going to have to when they got big bills.
Okay. Okay, if I move on.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question to clarify?
Yes, go ahead, Marco.
No.
What is CIA?
Curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Okay. The last document I have is the RSU pre-withdrawal anticipated costs. And this has two columns, and perhaps I shouldn't have done it but this way, but it shows what the costs were on the original merger between the two systems. The next one is dated 6/17/20, which was the date I wrote it. And it shows what I believe will be the expenses that we will incur pre-withdrawal, meaning they will incur after the vote November 4th, but before July 1st, 2021. And this is pretty self-explanatory. Most of it's legal. A good bite of it is in technology, getting the correct technological equipment here and so forth and so on. And there is a contingency. So I'm looking at spending $621,000 pre-withdrawal before 7/1.
For technology?
No, for the whole thing.
Total for withdrawal.
Oh,
Would
total.
you like me to read them out, Joe?
No, I
Okay.
have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've got, what, the categories there, he's got, the insurances, the property liability insurance, he's got legal costs, which includes, the deed transfers and all that type of stuff, auditing services, technology, transportation, that's kind of that's software related for the
Right.
for the transportation and whatnot. Let's see, additions to staff and the contingency. So the reason that it doesn't show up in the operating budget is because those costs would occur prior to July, which means you can't carry those into a budget because they would have had to have been expended in the prior budget.
What assumptions are being made on technology as far as new computer systems and servers and all that good stuff?
I can answer that, Joe, by saying that Kevin and the tech guru at Wyndham came up with a pretty thorough list of what they think Raymond would need to go forward on their own technologically. It's a cumbersome document. I'd be happy to send it to you. I do not have it here, but it
No,
breaks
I
it.
don't think it's something I really want to read.
I don't think so either. But they broke it down into what we need now, what we need later, and so forth and so on. But it's their numbers that are here.
Okay.
Their numbers with Kevin looking at it.
Right.
As we know, Kevin will look at it and say, yeah, that's nice, but here's what we can do.
Well,
Yeah.
they sent us a Chevy and Kevin wants a Cadillac. You know that. So
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. This is kind of a stupid question, but do we get any kind, because to me it sounds like we have to build our whole technology program up. And I mean, technically we've been paying for the technology program through this RSU. Do we get any kind of offset kickbacks off of that at all, or no?
No, that was one of the questions that we had asked in regards to licenses and things like
I
that.
thought I saw that, yeah. I remember
We
seeing
had
it.
asked whether the licenses could be transferred over, because in effect, we already paid for it.
right.
The answer that came back was, no, they can't. Now, whether that can still be pursued and found out to be more, but we have to look at it from from the worst case standpoint that says that no, they can't. So you've got to recreate some of that piece. If anything that we don't have to do, then we wouldn't do in regards to that. If we can get licenses transferred and whatnot, or part of the license transferred, then that would be the desired method. But to account for it right now, we had to look at it and say, they say you can't, so we'll take them at face value and figure here's what it would cost us. So that way it can't be, the state can't look at it and say, well, you haven't calculated enough in there.
Yep, no, I got it.
Is that correct, Mark?
It is.
Yeah, and that's consistent with the language of the agreement.
Okay. I know I saw it, but I kind of keep thinking we paid for it in some way, but is there a way? Yeah, but no, I hear what you're saying.
In the past, we have done some negotiating with the provider, depending on who that ultimate would be. If it's Tyler, we've made the argument, okay, we already own this, a percentage of this, 30% of this or whatever. And sometimes we have some success with that approach. So we just have to wait until we're ready to go, and then we'll have to go and sit down with these people.
Okay.
I'd like to go back and address a question that Teresa asked earlier, kind of sideways, but that is additions to staff. There are two categories I considered on additions to staff. Those that would be necessary to hire before July 1st of 2021, and those after. The number you see here of 230 are those costs for the people that would hire before July 1st. And I'd like to just use the superintendent for an example, but I'd like not to go any further with that in a public meeting. Does that clear that up, Teresa?
Yep. No, I know we have to have all those department heads. Just didn't see, I just want to make sure we have it budgeted something for it there, so that's not a surprise later. Okay.
Okay. That includes that's the whole package, employee benefits and et cetera, company cars, everything that the RSU gives them.
Company cars?
Gotcha, you're awake.
Yeah, really.
I'm all set. Unless you have any other questions, I'm all set.
Yeah, I guess, first of all, I want Marshall has put in a Herculean effort on this. I mean,
Yes.
you're seeing this here, but what you're not seeing is everything that goes in the background there. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So big thanks there. But what we need to be thinking about is how best do we put this information together for people to see, because
Right.
obviously they want to go through 120 pages of stuff. They want to see what it is. They want to see what, some of the premises and whatnot. So I mean, a lot of what he has there is just, right on as far as what's going to be needed as far as some of the presentations. But if people can think of other ways that can help, because some people are digital and some people are analog in their reading of things. So what makes perfect sense to us looking at it may not to somebody else. So I think we need to be thinking through how best do we make that so that people can figure out what it really means.
I guess I'd also like to suggest too that we start having a lot more meetings since we're so behind.
That's item 3.
Yeah. All right. Do you know what? I like Marshall's thing. Nancy Yates used to come to our school board, our select board meetings, and we would have the basics, and then if we had any more detailed information, she'd have her notebook right here. So people looking at this, we don't want to overload them, but we're always also open to give them what Marshall's given us.
You give me, given time, I can answer just about any question down to $100, but
right.
That's a pile about this high, so.
And maybe because of all these Zoom meetings, and we have Marshall, then we have you one night of just, calling questions.
That's fine. I'll stay tonight and just wait for questions if they come in, so.
But I mean, as we, when we go into the public meetings,
Right.
and whatnot, I mean, obviously the budget is a big side because people want to know, did you take things that we wanted out of there? Well, I mean, the simple answer is no, we didn't. We actually added.
We added.
We didn't take anything out. We added things that we didn't have before.
That's right.
So that we're improving programs. We're not detracting from programs. But
Here's a question that keeps coming up. Title I. Everybody's afraid that, the comment keeps coming back, we're going to lose Title I.
Well, you're going to lose some funding, I would think, right, Mark? Because we're a wealthy town. It's not.
That's right. What you need to know is, and Chris was pretty agreeable. We wrote into the withdrawal agreement because year one they cut all of Title I off, but he has agreed to continue our share of Title I in the first year, which is a plus. So, there are a couple other titles, 2 and 4 or whatever, don't get as much. We don't get a lot anyway, because You're right, Joe, we're wealthy. But what we've been getting, he's agreed to allow us to continue to get, which is unusual.
I mean, the other, I would think the other, if you kind of put your hat on sideways and look and squint, to say that, okay, we're gonna lose this, we're gonna lose that, we're going to, you know, we're not gonna be able to do this for the kid, that would presuppose that you have an inefficient special ed director. And, you know, I don't think that if you bring in a superintendent, they're gonna bring in an inefficient special ed director. Special ed director is there to help say, okay, here's things that you need and how you're gonna do it.
And I think I'm just bringing up, and what I'm going to do for our next meeting is have those list of questions that have been asked at other meetings, so we have answers for them. But that was one that was just asked the other night, again, the Title I. But again, on that Title I, it all depends on the child too. Every year it's something different.
Okay, so the question would be, any other questions on the budget itself that, you know, the draft budget? I mean, obviously that's an attachment to the agreement. The state will look that over, say, yeah, it looks, you know, you covered all the bases and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the school board, when they come in, is going to have to review that, make any changes that they would see, which then has to go through the regular review processes of the budget committee and things like that. So, you know, it's back to reviews the way that it used to be done, which is local review, which is, you know, which is a good thing, because the, you know, the people that are looking at it are the people that are actually going to be getting the service, you know, their kids and the people they know are the ones getting the services out of it. So it kind of puts some of that review back into what, when the consolidation law was written, the legislature took away and figured that local people didn't need to know what was going on. It didn't matter. So
the current budget for 2021 that Raymond is going to give to RSU 14 is around 11.5 million.
No. No. The impact to Raymond this year was about 10.7, 10.8.
Okay.
But then I factor you've got to add some because we're going to jump a year now.
Yeah, another 3 or 4% next year.
I figured 4.5. Yeah.
What did it go up this year?
4.5.
4.5.
At a time when everybody's out of work.
4.5.
So that's our school board representatives doing their best work.
Exactly.
Okay.
I
got my comment then.
Exactly.
Okay, so you know, that's the attachment that will go in to the state with this withdrawal separation agreement. So the next item is to,
I'm sorry, Ralph.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the document that would go in as Exhibit F would be the document entitled, the one pager entitled Raymond Draft Budget Exhibit F.
Correct.
I think I would propose changing the word function at the top under projected expenditures to cost centers to accurately reflect that these are the cost centers, and then taking out the pre-withdrawal reference, which wouldn't apply to the first year budget. That would be pre-withdrawal costs.
right, I mean, I guess the issue on that was, should there be, you know, it's saying 0, but should there be a note there saying because it was picked up in the practice, being picked up in your municipal budget?
Yeah, but I think that because that won't be part of the school budget, I think I would just remove that reference.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just that we want them to know that yes, we actually have looked at, you know, pre-withdrawal costs. It's just that we recognize that they're going to be expended prior to that budget. Therefore, they can't be in that budget. They have to be in the prior budget.
Good.
So I mean, if you know, is there any objection to making that title change as Dan suggested?
No.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute, please.
Yeah.
You're asking me to change the word function to the words cost center?
Cost centers, plural.
Centers.
Withdrawal.
Consider it done.
Okay. So the next item of business is the actual acceptance of the withdrawal separation agreement. And, you know, I guess the question to Joe and Mark and Dan, that we had given them the authority to go in. There was some little minor things to get approved and squared around. Any highlights on anything that got done in there from the last version that we saw?
Sure. Just to summarize the major points, as Mark mentioned, under 15C of the withdrawal agreement, language has been incorporated to provide for an equitable share of funds received under local entitlement and Title 1 through 5. And there's some language that addresses, during the first year after withdrawal, and there's some language there that addresses how that allocation, equitable share allocation will be made. Another additional addition is because the district is applying for school revolving renovation loans for schools in both Raymond and Wyndham. That will not be, the actual expenditure of those funds will not be completed before the effective date of withdrawal. There's been an Exhibit G added that addresses how that will be handled, and with the purpose of the language being to allow the district to move forward with those loans, and if withdrawal is approved, then it would provide the option for assignment, potential assignment of those contracts in the event that the construction is not completed to the new Raymond SAU. All of which I think is clearly in Raymond's interest. There was some clarification additional clarification around buses and vehicles that was incorporated into the transportation language. And I think those were the major points. Mark, did you or Joe, did you have anything to add?
No, I think it was everything we agreed to, so.
There was a little adjustment in the school nutrition article.
I'm sorry, Mark, I couldn't hear that.
Yeah. They made an adjustment to the school nutrition article too, Dan, right?
Yes, and when this agreement was sent to the DOE for a preliminary review, that was the only comment that came back, was a request for a little bit of additional detail in the school nutrition article. We had language that the new Raymond SAU will provide child nutrition services in compliance with state and federal law at the schools it operates. And following the suggestion for additional language by the DOE, we've added language that the new Raymond SAU will employ a qualified individual to oversee the nutrition program and will continue to provide food service with the kitchen staff at Raymond Elementary School and Jordan Small Middle School.
I think that was it.
Questions, Teresa?
Nope.
Okay, in that case, I'll take a motion to accept the withdrawal separation agreement as presented with the budget.
I'll make that motion.
All right, go ahead. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Joe, in favor or against?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
Rolf? Aye. Motion is carried. Okay, next item of business is to discussion on how and when do we want to do presentations and how do we, and how do we start getting the word out and getting things answered. First order of business, we'll get a copy of this agreement, the withdrawal agreement now to Sue, so she can put that up on the website so people can see what is in there.
And Ralph, can I interject briefly?
Yeah.
I'd like to get your signatures on it as soon as possible, because the DOE requests a signed agreement be submitted.
I know we can get Joe, Teresa, and me tomorrow. Kate,
Okay.
But we can go into the town. We can go to the town hall and sign that.
Well, let me ask something though. Kate didn't vote on this. Can we turn it in with 3 signatures instead of 4?
We can.
Okay, because she did not vote on it, so she may not even want to sign it, to be honest.
Yeah. As long as
Are you gonna have it at the town hall?
What?
Will it be at the town hall tomorrow?
It will be at the town hall.
What I will do is send Sue a copy of the agreement as signed by the superintendent. And if it's possible for each of you to, I'll do that first thing tomorrow. And if it's possible for each of you to go into the town hall and sign it, and then she can scan it and send it to me, then that will be.
Actually, the one that signed it was Jenny Cummings. It wasn't the superintendent. It was the
Okay,
chair.
yeah, I'm sorry, the chair.
RSU 14 board. So she signed that on the 16th of July. So we'll, Joe, that'll be, we've got a signing spot at the back door.
A table.
And
All right,
so,
I'll be in tomorrow about 9:30.
Great.
Sue, can you have that out there by then? Is she listening?
There, I am, I just had to figure out how to turn this sucker on.
Oh.
And it probably could be out there by 9:30. However, I'm on vacation tomorrow.
Ooh.
Okay, so if we send it to,
If you send it to Rita, possibly?
we can send it to either that, or I can send it to Dawn, or we can have it sent to Dawn.
Kayla?
Or Kayla.
Yeah, and Kayla, I'm not sure if Kayla's in tomorrow, so.
What if you send it to me? Do you want to send it to me and I can run it up? Or send it to Dawn and then have Dawn find somebody to print it out.
I can call Don tonight and tell him it's coming.
Yeah,
All right.
all you gotta do is-
Marcia, would include your new exhibit.
I'm sorry, Mark?
It would include your.
I understand, I'm just trying to see who to send it to.
Great.
Probably Don.
Okay,
Send it to Don,
Yeah.
because even if he's not there, he can direct it from his phone.
And I'll call him as soon as we get out of this meeting.
fine, and I'll send it to him tonight.
We will get it signed tomorrow.
Great.
Oh, yeah, tomorrow morning.
So I think you
Just
you
one
probably
page.
have the agreement as signed by the chair. Is there somebody that I should send that to, or do you already have it?
That's the one that came through in the emails.
Right.
I think Rolf sent that.
Yeah, the one that came, I sent that around to everybody. So actually, we have that. The only one I don't think Sue has that, but so I mean I've got that, so I can forward that on as well, because there's nothing that's changed here other than that other than that section or that attachment that Marshall's going to send.
And actually, Dan, if you could send it to me when this meeting ends, I could go back to the office and take care of it tonight and have it ready.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll
Okay.
do that right after we get off.
Mm-hmm.
So, great.
Okay, so
as far as like getting word out to everybody, I think that what we need to do is get all of our information, answer the questions that the school board put out the wrong information on, correct that, and get all these together. And I do think we should stick out some kind of a flyer to everybody once we have all the questions that, like a mass mailing, so everybody's getting it. Maybe, go ahead.
Can I chime in here just to talk about some of the timelines and the public hearing requirements? I want to send it to the DOE tomorrow because it's important that we get the commissioner's conditional approval of the agreement as soon as possible so we can begin to meet some of the deadlines that are in the statute. The first deadline is once the commissioner conditionally approves it, there needs to be a public hearing that is presided over by the chair of the RSU 14 board. And that hearing should take place as soon as possible. And it can't take place any earlier than 20 days after the commissioner conditionally approves it. So and it needs to have at least a 10-day notice. So my suggestion is that Mark reach out to the superintendent to talk about scheduling of that. But my hope would be that it would be scheduled likely within, there needs to be a 20-day time gap from when the commissioner approves it. So it's going to depend on when the commissioner approves it. But, and the RSU will need to give at least 10 days public notice of it. Under Executive Order 56, that can be held by remote participation means, which I anticipate probably will be how it makes sense to hold it in the current environment, because we don't know whether